The internet is a weird place. It is a hotbed of creativity, originality, and culture, so naturally, it is full to the brim of every kind of content imaginable. Take, for instance, YouTube. With over 1.3 billion users and an increasing rate of around 300 hours of video uploaded every minute, it is one of the largest media libraries ever produced. Now, traditional film design is limited. There are only so many ways to follow the rules to create a standard Hollywood film. The factor that allows platforms like YouTube to generate so much unique content is the fact that it doesn't need to follow these rules. It can bend them or ignore them altogether. The content on YouTube is mostly experimental. Experimental film is categorized as filmography that does not directly follow the general rules of filmmaking, by employing new and unusual techniques and design features to its plot, production, or cinematography. One example of an experimental filmmaker is David Lynch. In his series, Twin Peaks, Lynch loves to confuse his audience and make the viewing experience a real experience. He leaves the audience with many more questions than answers at the end of his work. It's like watching a normal movie in reverse. You start with a simple crime, with normal characters, scenes, and a sensical plot, and you end it 20 years later with a magic ghost man and floating vomit head and seemingly dead characters hiding in a haunted astral plane bowling alley. This is not normal TV. Lynch wants to take the idea of subjectivism and abstract art design to its limit, where there is simply no adequate way to interpret his art and no conclusive way to leave it behind. People still find themselves trying to break down Twin Peaks almost 30 years after its initial release, along with many of his other films. The experimental genre isn't about the plot or any one style. It's about conveying your ideas in a subjective and unique way. That can be anything, from abstract horrors to beautiful design. It doesn't need form or function. It just has to speak to you as you want it to. Nobody looks at a Kandinsky painting knowing what it's supposed to be, just what it is to them. David Lynch's approach to filmmaking has trickled down the generations, and a lot of new creators use his techniques and style to create truly beautiful and weird experimental films in the digital age. One such creator is Umami. Umami is an animator on YouTube that utilizes a simplistic Microsoft Paint style and Flash animations to create a surreal, lo-fi aesthetic that perfectly complements his disturbing and complex narratives. Within YouTube's wealth of content, there are plenty of other examples of people experimenting and playing with the format in order to create unique, weird, and wonderful viewing experiences that could not exist without the ease of access to creativity that platforms like YouTube have allowed. Some excellent examples are a found footage horror about a local news station operated by moon cultists, a first-person POV of a man running naked through the woods, pretending to create tutorials,
It's tutorial time. So today, it's time to do a YouTube tutorial.
a series of short, animated music videos that feature horrific Photoshop mutants, a Japanese robot singing directly into the camera at night in someone's living room, a surreal horror short incorrectly labeled as unedited footage of a bear, a comedy horror home mockumentary series about death cultists living in a house together in which everyone disappears slowly throughout the show. An existential soap opera about a grocery store.
This can't rain. There's more cheese to choose that I can't see.
Cube Baby. These examples, and many, many more, show just how YouTube and the internet as a whole has enabled the expansive development of experimental film, and allowed millions of creators to express themselves and create without limits. YouTube has no film board, no producers, no associations. It is simply a place to create, and this freedom of expression it enables makes it, in my opinion, the most influential and important development in experimental film since its original conception as a genre.